company responsible? I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Johnson & Johnson will pay the state of Washington millions for its role in the opioid crisis.
Washington State Attorney General Bob Ferguson announcing a nearly $150 million settlement with Johnson & Johnson, noting over $123 million will be used to combat the opioid crisis. The state suing the company in 2020, alleging it helped drive the pharmaceutical industry's expansion of prescription opioids and misled doctors and the public about the risk of addiction and the drug's effectiveness in treating chronic pain. Johnson & Johnson maintains marketing and promotion of important prescription opioid medications were appropriate and responsible. Washington State previously rejecting a settlement with the company for about $99 million. The latest settlement still needs to be approved by a judge.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. The United Auto Workers Union has endorsed President Biden in his run for re-election.
You look at just the facts and the body of work of both candidates and, both of them in their own words. Nowhere in history has Donald Trump ever stood for the American worker. He stands against pretty much everything that we stand for.
UAW President Shawn Fain, the president walked the picket line with striking UAW workers in Michigan when they were on strike over the summer. The U.S. has conducted more strikes against Iran-backed rebels in Yemen.
Initial reports that we're getting indicate that we had effective results on all three targets. 2 headquarters buildings and an intelligence facility were destroyed.
White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby, who said the strikes were carried out in self-defense. Heavy rains in Texas closed schools and increased flooding risks around Houston. The downpours canceled school today in rural counties outside Austin, where some areas got more than 8 inches of rain in 48 hours. America is listening to Fox News.
'93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
He says you can't trust his competitor. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. It's Indiana Republican Congressman Jim Banks versus John Rust in the Republican primary for an open U.S. Senate seat. During an interview with 93 WIBC's Hammer and Nigel Wednesday, Banks said Rust is not trustworthy.
And I'm proud to have Donald Trump's support, because he knows when I get to the Senate, I'm going to fight with him to save this great country. And John Rust is a lifelong Democrat that we know is going to do the opposite.
He brought up the fact that Rust's family company, Roseacre Farms, was found liable for price gouging on eggs. Increasing the speed limit on Indiana's rural highways was brought up for consideration at the State House. John Havrick reports.
Republican Ben Smaltz wrote a bill that would increase the speed limit from 70 to 75 miles an hour on some of those highways.
I think if we talk about it, and we ask for opinions, we ask for data, and we do studies, we're going to find the right way forward.
But those against it say there are already lots of studies that show increasing your speed on the highway only leads to more crashes and deaths. No action was taken on the bill Tuesday after it was discussed by the House's Roads and Transportation Committee. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Fog Wednesday night could impact your drive to work Thursday.
Fog returning against night. There's going to be periods of rain here or there, which could cause some flooding, especially in areas close to streams that may be a little bit high.
Andrew White, meteorologist with the National Weather Service, says it's going to continue to rain the next few days. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Another round of dense fog is ahead for tonight with a few showers possible. Lows will fall into the mid-40s. Thursday, dry to start today, but we'll see rain return Thursday afternoon and night with more fog. Highs getting into the low to mid-50s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Stephen Deanna for 93 WIBC.
Are your health insurance premiums making you sick? George and Megan at yourcoverage.net can help. George and Megan have helped countless individuals and families save 30 to 60% on health insurance with superior coverage. George recently saved a family of 4 $800 a month with the Aetna Network $0 deductible and $0 doctor office copay plan. This is not a government-sponsored health insurance plan. So if you're uninsured, recently lost your job, on COBRA, or are paying extremely high rates for Obamacare or your work coverage, George and Megan will help you if you meet the flexible guidelines for health insurance. Yourcoverage.net will provide you the best coverage at the lowest rate. Their goal is to give you peace of mind and the utmost in healthcare. Go to yourcoverage.net and see for yourself, or better yet, call George and Megan at 1-800-491-5500. That's 1-800-491-5500. Or go to yourcoverage.net. That's yourcoverage.net. A premium personalized healthcare plan managed and designed by you, not the government.
Dads happen. There's a whole lot of stuff that can mess up the look of your vehicle. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal. PDR is paintless dent removal that saves your factory finish and is way less invasive than traditional body shop repairs. And it's faster too, sometimes same day. Google Kill a Dent Removal and check out the reviews and photos. Then schedule your repair. Hail baseballs, kids, fender benders, shopping carts, flying cows, angry X's, and anything else that leaves dents. Don't paint your car. Go PDR with Kill a Dent Removal.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure for max strength daytime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. DayQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks DayQuil High Blood Pressure. The daytime, non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey, the Amber and Nigel show.
All right, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening, I'm Tony Kinnett. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. For those of you who are listening right now, make sure you check out the podcast. You can find that over on Apple Podcasts under, you guessed it, the Tony Kinnett Cast. There's a lot to get to, and it's not getting any less tense, so we'd better dig in while we still have time. A constitutional crisis is gripping the country in the heart of Texas. Along the southern border, federal officials are trying to scoop up barbed wire as quick as they can after Greg Abbott ordered the Texas National Guard and the Texas government to stem the incredible flow of illegal immigrants, upwards of 300,000 per month, many of whom include cartel members, Mexican gang members, Azerbaijani terrorists, perhaps, and not to mention Chinese and Iranian nationals on the terror watch list that are streaming over the border into Texas, putting Texan lives at risk. The Supreme Court ruled after the federal government sued. They're really grumpy that Abbott would have the gall to string razor wire or barbed wire across several open areas to deter illegal immigrants crossing the border, breaking American and Texan law. So Biden's administration asked the Supreme Court if they could order Border Patrol to pick up the barbed wire. After all, the federal government has been acting as the supreme authority over international borders, despite some conflicting language in the United States Constitution. And the Supreme Court ruled 5-4, with Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts defecting to side with the libs, that yes, the federal government could pick up barbed wire that was placed by the Texas National Guard and the Texas state government. They did not, however, share that the Texas government couldn't keep slapping barbed wire right on down. And if you're wondering what the situation at the border has looked like since that decision, here you go. You can actually see a large backhoe pulling up the barbed wire, and yep, there's immigrants just lined up, going right underneath it and entering the country. No port of entry, extremely illegal, and they're just letting them in. I mean, you literally have points at the border in which no one is doing any, everyone is standing there watching as all of these illegal immigrants are just waltzing into the country. And as media go up and speak to these individuals, we are finding that they, again, might be individuals on the terror watch list. Members of MS-13, the Sinaloa cartel, who are pumping fentanyl, which is killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, who are trafficking women and children, who are often beaten and raped and sold as sex slaves, which might trouble you if you're not Bill Clinton. And the federal government has just decided to treat this as Biden's open border policy. This is Biden just doing whatever he wants. And the only proposition that Democrats have put forward is to increase the amount of immigrants into the country. That's their solution. Not to stop illegal immigration and then decide what to do, but to just make it easier for people to immigrate. Nothing else. And in fact, Biden has ordered Border Patrol not to, patrol the border, but to drive vans and buses up to the border, pick up migrants, and then give them food, housing, and shelter. And not just in places like New York, and not just in places like Chicago, which had originally advertised themselves as sanctuary cities. We'll talk a little bit later in the show about why that's going downhill real quick. But you're also seeing places like North Carolina. High schools in North Carolina, according to Libby Emmons over at the Post Millennial, have cited that they are closing schools in North Carolina to make room for migrants to stay in the classrooms of children. So during COVID, your kids couldn't be in the classroom because they might come home and kill grandma. Now, kids can't go to school because we have to house the migrants, which might include cartel members that could kill grandma. So just an incredible state in the United States right now. But Governor Abbott is not just going to take this lying down, nor is the Texan government. As of today, Governor Abbott has declared an official invasion and a state of emergency in Texas and has invoked Texas constitutional authority to defend and protect itself. Here's a little of what that looks like. By the way, this is one of the reasons that you should watch the live stream on youtube.com/WIBC or over on Twitter X at 93WIBC. We've got a lot of great videos and graphics. A lot of the other shows on the station don't have, and we like to make sure that you can see those. So Governor Abbott today on the 24th announced that the federal government has broken the compact between the United States and its states. The executive branch of the United States, Abbott says, has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting the states, including immigration laws on the books right now. He cites the framers, including Article 4, Section 4, which promises that the federal government shall protect each state against invasion, end quote, and Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which acknowledges the state's sovereign interest in protecting their borders, end quote. Because Governor Abbott has announced that the federal government has failed to uphold its duty to protect the citizens of the United States residing under the jurisdiction of the state of Texas, he says, we're going to do it. And he's right. He is definitively correct. The federal government does not, no government in the United States has the authority to ignore laws. There's not a one. And by the way, this is one of the reasons why the current Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett and the at once possible Indianapolis Mayor Jefferson Shreve were and are complete idiots. You can't decide just willy-nilly that you're going to uphold some laws you agree with and not uphold laws that you don't. Because laws that are passed are considered the best interest, or are considered in the best interest of those in that jurisdiction. So when you don't enforce those laws, you put those people at risk. Now, Democrats around the media and Congress that are still siding with Biden, which is a smaller number every day, are claiming that Republicans are calling Mayorkas, Secretary Mayorkas, out because they don't like this policy position. But that's not the case. You can't not uphold laws and call that a policy position. I can't put your life at risk. I can't not do my duty to uphold the Constitution of the United States and then just say, oh, everything's fine. After all, it's just a policy position. That's just how I interpret the law. And so this will end up going back to the Supreme Court. A lot of individuals are encouraging Texas to hold the line. And by the way, this is the constitutional crisis. The constitutional crisis is not the fact that the Supreme Court made a ruling. It's not the fact that the executive branch has filed injunctions to enact certain border policies against the interests of Texas citizens. It's you currently have a situation in which objectively Texas citizens and the citizens of the United States at large lives are at risk and have been lost due to a migratory invasion that is unfettered and unchecked by Mexico, which, by the way, is an act of war by the government of Mexico. And you're in a situation in which the Governor Abbott of Texas has a responsibility to protect his citizens. Nothing the Supreme Court can do can erase the constitutional rights of Americans. Nothing the executive branch can do can erase the constitutional rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of Texans in the state of Texas. Governor Abbott not only has the right, but the responsibility to ensure that the Texas border is protected. You don't just get to willy-nilly craft policy because you think that, well, I really don't want to be mean to illegal migrants, and after all, someone could trip in the barbed wire and hurt themselves. You don't have a right to put American citizens in danger. That's not a radical position. That is something that everyone on the left and right in this country understood until about 1992, when things started going downhill because we started talking about broad interest, socioeconomic policy-based politics. Up next, we're going to be talking about college Fix's article in which Indiana University might be trying to subvert state law regarding the defunding of the pedophilic Kinsey Institute. And absolutely none of that is hyperbolic. Stick around. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
History.
Historic election
happens.
Happening now.
Here.
Right here.
We have to do what's good for our party.
How badly the Democrats want to run against Donald Trump.
She had a very bad night.
What happens between now and South Carolina?
Every time I've run for office in South Carolina.
South Carolina, where I think we're going to win easily.
I've beaten the political establishment.
Happens here.
I did hear.
Your 2024 election information station, 93 WIBC.
Fed rate cut plans have reduced mortgage rates more than a full point and dropping. If you've been waiting to sell, now is the time. Maximize your home sales price with the agent and team I recommend, Mark Dietl. Perhaps you're worried about settling for less money with a low-ball instant offer. Mark Dietl guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Listen to what Andy and Kim in Fortville had to say about working with Mark Dietl. We have an 8-month-old, and it was time to add more space. We heard about Mark Dietl on the radio and hired them. What they say is true. Our old home had multiple offers and went under contract in 48 hours, while at the same time they helped us find the perfect new, bigger place. Call the agent I trust and recommend, and the agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. Call Mark Dietl, 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietl.com. It's Mark, Dietel.com.
If you're over 50, Absolute Wealth Management LLC is offering a special deal to kickstart your financial journey in 2024. You can have your 2023 tax return prepared and filed, including Schedules A, B, and D, for just $79.95. Call us now at 317-288-0634. That's 317-288-0634, or visit AbsoluteWealthManagementLLC.com. Investment advisory services offered through Gradient Advisors LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Gradient Advisors LLC and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting advice.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
Hey, this is Malia. We often get asked when is the best time to buy, and the answer is today, not tomorrow. With rising utility costs, rising product costs, and missed opportunity costs, which you could be saving with a high-efficiency system. Give us a call today to schedule your free in-depth estimate, 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. After suffering an injury, you may face many hard questions. What will tomorrow bring? Which firm should I choose to represent me and my family? At Morgan & Morgan, we will hold your hand every step of the way. From our one-click sign-up, mobile apps, and 24/7 availability, we make it easy to get your case started right from the comfort of your couch. All firms are not the same. The choice is easy. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, this is Denny Smith. C&J is offering one of their great discount programs, and it's one you've got to take advantage of to upgrade your home's water system. Invest in one item, it's $250 off. 2 items, $500 off. And if you invest in 3 items, you'll get $750 off. They're also offering $25 off a bacteria sampling, something you should be doing every year. Act now and make your water system goals for 2024 a reality with C&J. They're local and they're affordable. 317-733-SOFT or cnjwater.com.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Hypnosis to destroy unwanted cravings. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. Destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Seminars Thursday, January 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. And Saturday, January 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Indianapolis area attorneys. 101 West Ohio Street, Suite 1250, Indianapolis, Indiana 46204.
Prescription opioids can be addictive and dangerous.
Opioid pain medication took everything that I had. Nothing mattered more than getting my fix. I was on the verge of being homeless. My house was being foreclosed on. Knowing that it could have been prevented makes it worse. It just takes one.
Prescription opioids. It only takes a little to lose a lot. Visit cdc.gov/RxAwareness.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by BillEstisTrucks.com.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. Indiana University and being really weird about sex. They go hand in hand, like peanut butter and jelly, like really bad policies and really liberal universities. Joining us to chat about that today is Matt Lamb of the College Fix. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
So first of all, break down I know we can really dig into a lot of things regarding IU and the Kinsey Institute. First of all, tell us what the Kinsey Institute is and why it gives some people some concerns.
So the Kinsey Institute is named after Alfred Kinsey. Your listeners may have heard that name in a intro to psychology class, and he did a lot of weird sex research a long time ago. But the Kinsey Institute has a lot of his records and also continues his legacy, so to speak. And one of the things Kinsey did is he would interview pedophiles, for example, about their sexual tendencies. He overemphasized or overcalculated the percentage of the population years ago that were homosexual. And this is housed at Indiana University in Bloomington. The employees use Indiana University resources. It's in an Indiana University building. They have IU emails. And that has drawn some criticism for really decades because of the Kinsey Institute's history and Alfred Kinsey's history.
Right. And especially given that some of these experiments and studies and research that came from good old Alfred led some to draw conclusions that might have come from child experimentation, possibly kind of a Pavlovian approach to if a child is touched in this way a number of times, then can you get them to respond asymptomatically? Very, very creepy stuff, right? Just really disturbing things that are associated. And the Indiana legislature agreed. So the Indiana legislature cut funding from the Kinsey Institute. And I believed threatened to cut funding from Indiana University if they continued to associate with Kinsey as part of its mainline group. Am I correct in remembering that?
I don't remember if they agreed to, if they were going to take away all funding, but exactly. So the budget passed last summer said that no state funds can go to supporting the Kinsey Institute. Right now, the Kinsey Institute has not answered our College Fix's questions about how they're operating. But for an article recently, we calculated that they're in an office in Lindley Hall, and that if you wanted a similar rent for about a 12-person office, which is roughly how many employees are at Kinsey, that would be about $4,000 per month. That doesn't include security provided, internet, other amenities that come with being in a university building.
And the building is still open, so they have to be getting the money from somewhere.
Right. So they're in an office within an IU building, and as I mentioned, if they're paying a fair market rate, that alone, that's a subsidy of at least $50,000 a year. So
Absolutely.
what the university is doing is, the university, which is publicly funded, said the university is going to set up a nonprofit entity to absorb some of the costs. How that doesn't violate the clear language of the law is unclear. And every time we've asked Kinsey, they basically defer to the university for comment, who won't respond. Obviously, university attorneys who are paid for by taxpayers setting up an entity and running it in some fashion violates the law. And that's what conservative groups were critical of the Kinsey Institute for, as we covered recently at the College Fix.
Absolutely. We're on with Matt Lamb of the College Fix, talking about an article by Hudson Crozier of the University of North Texas. The Indiana University Kinsey Institute is still open and kicking, despite the state refusing funding a very weird pedophilic sex research institute. And none of that, by the way, as a form of exaggeration at all. That's not me just trying to throw clickbait and make a topic sound more interesting. The subjects in research that Alfred Kinsey brought forward did involve putting children at sexual risk in both his interviews of pedophiles and also in the Pavlovian nature of the research on children and how they express sexuality. And I'm not talking about teenagers, although that would still be gross. I'm talking about children between the ages of 4 and 11. So some really creepy stuff that the Indiana University Science Department, I guess, feels that it needs to hold on to. The problem that I have here, and maybe you can help me out, Indiana University is a public funded institution, at least in part. Yes?
Right.
So therefore, if I, as a taxpayer, let's say I pay taxes to the state of Indiana, which the last time I checked my driver's license and my taxes every April, I do. So as a taxpayer, I should be able to call an organization that I'm funding, and I should be able to ask questions and get a straight answer. Does that make sense? Let's just say in theory.
Absolutely. And as an Indiana resident myself, I couldn't agree more.
Right. But so the problem is that when the college fix, whether that's you or one of your other individuals, calls a taxpayer-funded institution and asks questions about how this organization is open, what they're doing, you get sent to a lawyer to give you these very pre-prepared and vague statements, and often just kind of ghosting you and leaving you in some forlorn inbox of someone who's been on paternity leave for 3.5 decades. So the question I ask is that, do you think if this is a issue that the legislature maybe needs to look into, kind of for all institutions, whether it's IU, Purdue, Indiana Wesleyan, Taylor, if you take state money of any kind, no more giving lawyer answers. Is that a good start to getting some answers here?
Well, I would say, the legislature should come back, and we've been disappointed in past efforts to get further comment from the Indiana Republican legislators, Representative Sweet, for example, to get more information on how are they going to enforce this. And then the Attorney General's office said, they told us our jurisdiction does include nonprofits, but there's nothing to provide at this point.
But their jurisdiction does include Indiana University still, who is assisting in, do you have on record that they are assisting in setting up a nonprofit?
Sure. So the Board of Trustees is considering this attempt to set up a nonprofit. It's in their minutes. They have a meeting next February. And also it's fairly public knowledge, because if you go to the Kinsey Institute website, it's at it's IU email addresses, it's at Indiana University.
Right.
And the Attorney General absolutely, I don't even care if they have jurisdiction over nonprofits. They have jurisdiction to enforce state law. And if there's a stipulation in a state law that says this cannot happen, and it's very clear it is happening, they need to look into it and respond.
Absolutely. This is the situation that I get really concerned with, whether it's, and I don't know whatever happened in this conversation with the Attorney General's office. I'm thinking more along the lines of hauling in administrators before a committee in the House or in the Indiana Senate. And again, because they determine the budget, the legislature has authority over university structure in state universities. That's why they are, folks, state universities. The name comes with strings. Who would have thought? We're on with Matt Lamb of the College Fix. The question that I have coming out of this is, do you see, I've noticed a lot of left-wing publications in the state that have been popping up under the guise of nonprofit organizations. I see a lot of failed businesses that are kind of leaping into nonprofit land. And now we have schools that are basically taking failed measures and then hopping into nonprofit land to kind of keep them from the public eye. Do you see nonprofits as kind of becoming the next tool of outreach for shady enterprise, or, am I just kind of reading this wrong?
No, let me comment specifically as it applies to universities, which is more my, area of knowledge, is that universities, including Purdue as well, also funded by our taxpayer dollars, that should be going to increased child tax credits for us, Tony. Purdue sets up a foundation, and they run things through the foundation that can't be touched by public records law. Now, by the rules of the foundation, the chair of their board is also always the president of Purdue. And so Indiana University is doing something similar. There have been positive court rulings out of Kentucky and Illinois that have told other foundations for universities that they can't just use a foundation to skirt public record law. But to your point, at least as it applies to universities, this is a common tactic to set up a nonprofit called the IU Foundation, the Purdue University Foundation, that completely works to advance Purdue's mission or IU's mission, but then is outside of the bounds, allegedly, of public record law.
So, Matt, I've got a bill for you. It's exactly one page. In fact, it's one sentence, and I think that a legislator should pass this tomorrow. Put it on the floor. It should say this verbatim: any individual who is employed by a nonprofit, which is also employed by a taxpayer-funded institution, brings about the consequence of said nonprofit organization being subject to the same public records law as the institution, which is taxpayer funded, that the individual is employed to. Clean it up, slide it through Grammarly, but this seems like an easy fix. I mean, I'm sorry, like if you have it, just because if I run, let's pick a school district out of nowhere. If I run Pendleton, I run South, Madison School Corporation, and I'm on the board there. I'm a teacher there, and I'm also part of a nonprofit. And there's a question over whether some things are connected. Public transparency laws should apply. Make sense?
I agree. And the fact they use the university's name is clear. If I set up a restaurant called Mitch Daniel's Purdue Restaurant, I mean, the university's copyright attorneys would be over me so fast that, I'd have to get another job. And so absolutely, they're using the university name. They're representing themselves as promoting the university's work. And so I think they should be subject to public records law. And as you mentioned, I don't understand what the communications people do all day if they're not answering questions from journalists, because it seems like that's what they're paid to do.
That's a very good question. Matt Lamb from the College Fix talking about Indiana University trying to keep the Kinsey Institute alive. Stick around. You are listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-364-1031 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-364-1031. That's 800-364-1031. What do you have to lose? Call 800-364-1031. Again, 800-364-1031.
13%? What about 13%? Hammer and Nigel here. Look, if I told you you could get a 13% bonus on your investment, that would interest you, right?
Getting an extra 13% on my money? Yes, that interests me.
Exactly. And it adds up fast. For every $100,000 you invest, you earn $13,000 up front with the bonus.
13%. That is a solid bonus right there.
It is, but there's more. You can also get a competitive return that's averaged 7% a year for the past 10 years, and it's backed by one of the world's largest insurance companies.
That sounds like a no-brainer. How do I find out more information?
Just call Bill Demery. He's my retirement guy. He's your retirement guy.
This incredible offer won't last long. Call 317-648-5120. That's 317-648-5120. Bill Demery, your retirement guy. Past performance is no guarantee of future returns.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros, and a sincere thank you to our loyal customers for helping make us national sales leaders for the 7th year in a row. We continue to save our new clients 30 to 40% when compared to their current ACA, short-term, COBRA, or small group programs. Breaking news. On July the 7th, President Biden signed an executive order outlawing short-term health plans. If you're on a short-term plan or just unhappy with your present coverage, call Terry or Ron at 317-563-0868 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-563-0868 or rragency.org. If you don't call us, we can't help you. Our coverages are guaranteed to age 65 with zero deductible and zero copay options. all on the largest network in the country. Give us a call. What the heck you got to lose? As always, God bless America, or at least what's left of her.
You've set your financial goals. One kid plans to go Big Ten, the other Ivy. Your bucket list includes seaside sunrises and sunsets on the slopes, or perhaps a second home away from it all. Busey Bank can help develop the right investment strategy to take charge of the years ahead. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Member FDIC.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening and welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. You can also find us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Make sure to leave us a review. It really helps the show out. Of course, being on at 7 p.m. every evening does give us a few privileges that some of the other shows here at WIBC on the daily do not have. And that is an update that was sent to me just a few minutes ago. Texas Democrat Congressman Joaquin Castro and Congressman Greg Cesar have both posted calling for President Biden to reestablish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard. So because Greg Abbott is putting up barbed wire and using the Texas National Guard to protect their constituents, to protect citizens of the state of Texas, and also those of us who would be getting those illegal immigrants by the bucket load, Joaquin Castro said, Governor Greg Abbott is using the Texas National Guard to obstruct and create chaos at the border, which is objectively not true. He says, if Abbott is defying yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, the president needs to establish sole federal control of the Texas National Guard now. And then Congressman Greg Cesar agrees. The Supreme Court's order is that the federal government can pick up barbed wire. There is no Supreme Court order that says Texas cannot keep laying the barbed wire down. But it is concerning, mainly because President Biden so far has been completely silent. Now, we are at a point in Biden's administration where this isn't exactly a shock. Not exactly a concern to anybody that Biden has been kind of quiet, because most of the country, and when I mean most, I mean 99.9% of the country understands that Biden is not running the country. He has severe onset dementia. It is not in an early stage. He cannot walk anywhere. It is very clear that he is on every kind of anti-Alzheimer or dementia medication that we can provide. He cannot finish full sentences at the best of times. And in this constitutional crisis, this is usually when you would expect a president to step in and give some clear direction and comfort to the country, because there are fears that are starting to be whipped up on both sides of the aisle. Biden isn't, because Biden is bad. He is really, really bad. Take a look at this. This was Tuesday night, last night in Virginia. You can see just how bad he's gotten.
We'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
Now, you may not have understood what President Biden was trying to say there. Even the White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, in her endless sympathy for President Biden, has not shed any light on what he was supposed to mean. You'll get the benefit for messing with women's right. No one knows what that means at all. President Biden, in his only appearance of the day, cannot even get straight sentences out that are typed out for him on the teleprompter. And by the way, allow me to show you what it looks like when President Biden tries to read the teleprompter. This was today at the United Auto Workers Union Conference. Here he is trying to list auto manufacturers.
Because of you, Toyota, Volkswagen, Nissan, Tulsa all gave their workers double-digit raise.
Tulsa. If you met Tesla, cool. But Tesla is not unionized, so kind of weird there. No, that's not because of the UAW. But if you did mean Tulsa, as in the second largest city in Oklahoma, congratulations to Elon Musk, I guess, for founding a city in Oklahoma. Oh, dear God. And look, I understand that the other day that Trump said Nikki Haley when he meant to say Nancy Pelosi. And look, sometimes people do have gaffes. They do. Occasionally, I say the wrong thing. The other night on the program, I said 5 months of investigation from Butler University instead of 3 months. That was misspeaking because in my original article, I wrote that they had not gotten back to the college GOP for 5 weeks. And so I got my wires crossed. Everyone gets their wires crossed. That's true. And if this were the only time President Biden had a gaffe like this, then sure, okay. I would not be up in arms, nor would the majority of the country. The problem is, this is every single time the president speaks. Every time, every single event, you can count on there being a gaffe. In fact, there are so many Biden gaffes that people from Reddit to Twitter to the open streets are starting to make jokes about how many times Republicans notice that Biden is making a gaffe. That's how consistent it is that old gum-gums in the White House can't get a full sentence out. It's embarrassing. And the media's attempt to make it look like Trump's the real dementia patient. Oh, because he said Nikki Haley instead of Nancy Pelosi. By the way, when they asked Nancy Pelosi about Trump switching the two names accidentally, Nancy Pelosi then started talking about President Biden as making mistakes. So just super duper stuff all around. Just chef's kiss performance from the Democrats today around the country. There is genuinely one reason and one reason alone that despite Biden's clear, evident dementia, and by the way, I spent a lot of time around my grandfather who had dementia, and as he got into the later throes of it in 2008 through 2011, I saw the exact same things that I saw in President Biden. By the way, if you play Trump in 2016, and before then when he was on The Apprentice, and then you play clips of Trump now, he sounds the exact same. When you play a clip of Biden in 2016, 2015, compared to now, it is like two completely different people. Biden is on death's door mentally. And that is a horrible, horrible thing. But you might ask, well, then why is Biden still in the White House? You're listening to the Tony Kinnett cast here on 93 WIBC, and that's the question. Why keep Biden in the White House if you're a Democrat? And there are two reasons. Number one, there are a lot of Democrats who are trusting Biden beat Trump once before, he can do it again. That's half of it. Is that they think, well, Biden, he's done it before, so if we just run the exact same campaign as we ran in 2020, we can do it again. The problem is that isn't going to work. Number two, they say kindly old moderate grandfather eating ice cream is really good for running a campaign. And that was what Biden did in 2020. He ran as the kindly old moderate that was going to unify the country and just bring us all together, and it would be like a return to like Bill Clinton era Democrat politics. Only there's an issue with that. The mask fell off. The mask fell off. It's not going to work this time yet again. It ain't happening, folks. Biden got in the White House and then governed like an extreme progressive. He has governed with open borders that now has a state up in arms, literally. He has ruined the United States economy. The housing market is right about to crash. It has been described in several outlets as a slow-moving train wreck as of today. And the world is completely on fire. And this leads to what could be Democrats' real issue here in 24, because a lot of my fellow hosts and a lot of people around the country have been asking, well, you know, are the Democrats going to try some crazy stuff like they did in 2020? And you know, are we going to see a repeat? And the answer is no, because there is a much more significant issue that Republicans faced last time that now Democrats are going to face. And we're going to go into it in detail because we have to. Otherwise, well, you're going to miss all the fun. So get the popcorn, don't leave. We'll be right back at the Tony Kinnett cast on 93 WIBC.
This could be one of the most consequential elections in our lifetime.
Who will be our next president?
Next senator.
Governor.
And just as important,
Who will represent us in the General Assembly?
You have a voice with your
one vote.
Unhappy with the current state of affairs?
You can do something about it.
Voting is one of our most important rights as Americans.
It's how you can stand up for your beliefs,
your values,
and for future generations.
Registration to vote in the May primary is open through April 8th.
From 93 WIBC and Urban One.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Your next new vehicle is coming from Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, where you get more out of your next service appointment at Andy Moore Ford. With Ford Pickup and Delivery, they'll come to you. Andy Moore Ford will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it to your home or office. It doesn't get much more convenient than that. And you could say hello to more rebates. With federal and state incentives, you could save more on your EV purchase. Plus, with updated federal regulations, you can claim up to $7,500 instantly on site. Who doesn't want to save more? Andy Moore Ford is your place for a new or used Ford vehicle. Talk to them today about their service, talk about their selection, and if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. It's a new year and you've waited long enough for a new vehicle. Andy Moore Ford in Plainfield, 2713 East Main Street, 2713 East Main Street, or online at andymoreford.com. That's Andy Moore, M-O-H-R, andymoreford.com.
Winter is here, and if you've already had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your old windows, bundling up in layers of clothes and blankets, and hearing the heat turn on for the 5th time this hour, then it's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replacing those old windows with quality, energy-efficient ones from Window Nation is easier and more affordable than you think. Right now through the end of the month, replace the windows in your home and pay no interest for 5 years. That's a great deal, and on top of that, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles.
Window Nation's professional installation means your windows will fit right, so you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows and those cold drafts letting out your heat anymore. Don't wait. With 0 interest for 5 years, why not give Window Nation a look? Let Window Nation show you all the options to fit your needs and budget. It's easy. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
After such a warm December, the bitter cold is now here. Hi, this is Jiffy Lube owner Steve Sanner, and I want to urge you to head to your nearest Jiffy Lube so our technicians can make sure that your car or truck is fully prepared to handle these ice-cold temperatures. At Jiffy Lube, you never need an appointment. Just drive in and we'll change your oil, check all your fluid levels, inspect your lights, wiper blades, and belts, properly inflate your tires, and make sure that your car is in the best possible shape to keep you safe this winter. Jiffy Lube is even replacing brake parts and tires now, making Jiffy Lube Indiana's one-stop shop for all your vehicle's maintenance needs. Our computer system has the owner's manual information for every vehicle, and we have scanners that can help you understand and often quickly fix any dashboard warning lights you may see. So drop by your neighborhood Jiffy Lube today, and in just a few minutes you'll get the peace of mind that comes with knowing that your car or truck is ready to handle another Indiana winter.
Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hey, welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. You've guessed it, I'm Tony Kinnett, and boy, it has been a wild whirlwind of a day. As my friend Logan Hall from The Blaze pointed out, you have decades where nothing happens, and then you have a few weeks where decades feel like they happen. And that's certainly what's going on right now, because in this critical election of 2024, the Democrats have a very serious problem. See, there's this silly concept that a lot of people believe in, that the United States presidential elections are made up of like 20% Republicans, 20% Democrats, and then 60% independent swing voters who are convinced every single election who they're going to vote for. And that's not true. That's like your Disney high school teacher's best interpretation show you on a video of how the country works. And it hasn't worked like that in a very, very, very long time. The Republican National Committee and the Democrat National Committee have established large base swaths. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It does outline a political problem foundationally for the country. But the Democrats have a very significant issue going into 2024. The issue is that in modern elections, it's not, can you get a lot of independents out to vote for you? It's, can you get people in general to come out and enthusiastically support your candidate at the polls? How do you drive people there? A lot of people in 2020 think that people came out to the polls to vote against Donald Trump. And that's not true. The problem in 2020 is that a lot of the Republican Party stayed home. And a lot of the Democrat Party came out, and a lot of the country just kind of sat that one out. Whereas in this election, the opposite is likely to happen. You actually need to encourage a lot of the factions of the Democrat Party to get out and vote for Joe Biden. And the issue is, Biden's really starting to lose his grip on what were traditionally some really bedrock foundational places that the Democrat Party loved to romp through. The UA president said that he's backing Biden, but as many other UAW members and officials have pointed out, the economy approval rating is at an all-time low, and a lot of UAW members are probably going to end up voting Trump even if they vote blue for the rest of the ticket. This is true from a lot of members that I spoke to on the UAW picket line at the Ford Assembly plant in in Clinton Township, north of Detroit, who told me very emphatically that when Trump was in office, he may be an a-hole, but there was food on the table and money in my pocket. That was what one young black lady who said that she votes Democrat everywhere else, but she'll vote for Trump again. And this is a severe problem for Democrats because Trump is not super big demon man to come vote against. All that voters are seeing is Biden's failed policies. Case in point, this was by the Daily Mail today. Black Chicago Democrats are suing Mayor Johnson for housing migrants, illegal migrants, you know, the ones we were talking about earlier on in the show, in a park that they call the crown jewel of their community. And so far, they are winning. So now even Democrats in New York and Chicago, as well as other inner city areas, are filing lawsuits against their own party and the Democrat-controlled federal government because they are not really a huge fan of seeing all of the community resources going to illegal migrants. Now, the smarter of the individuals out there, the more analytical of the individuals out there might be saying, you know, maybe don't vote for Democrats at all. And that's true. But don't put the cart before the horse. The key problem for Democrats in 2024 is they're not going to be able to get as many people as they think out to vote. Trump voters are already coming out, as we saw in Iowa and New Hampshire. Nikki Haley was only able to get a fraction of Republicans to vote for her, while 70%, according to most major polls, 70% of people that voted for Nikki Haley were independents and Democrats. Donald Trump beat his record for votes in New Hampshire and carried the primary. It was not an amazing night for Nikki Haley at all. And this is a huge warning bell siren for Democrats, is that Trump on a primary night with some Republicans beat Republicans and independents and Democrats. No one's coming out to vote against Trump. These voters that you've crafted are not real. And that's a significant issue. In 2020, Trump was on the ballot. A referendal election is always a referendal election, aka the first term into the second term, is always an election that is based on a critique of the first term. So in 2004, it was a critique on Bush's first term. In 2012, it was a critique on Obama's first term, which is why Obama went so heavy into social and racial dynamics, because now he had to cite why the real problem that the economy didn't grow as it should have in 2008 through 2012. And so it became a referendum on Obama's social progress, and it ended up working. The referendum on Trump in 2020 succeeded for Joe Biden because Joe Biden ran as a moderate, friendly old grandpa from a basement and just pointed at Trump and said, "This man is chaos. I'm going to unite the country." And it worked. It barely worked, but it worked. The media covered for him when he made some big boo-boos regarding Hunter Biden, and there were some serious shenanigans afoot. I know there are a lot of different opinions on whether this was voting fraud or whether this was more media collusion in withholding things like Twitter and the New York Post. But the moral of the story is Biden can't do it again. He can't. There is no way that Biden can say, "I'm the kindly old unifying grandpa," because the mask is off. Biden's policies have screwed over the country royally. He's deeply unpopular with the right, the center, and also, by the way, the progressive left. Because of the college loans which he lied about, and Hamas and Israel. The progressive left are angry with Joe Biden because he supported Israel initially after Hamas went in and raped a bunch of Israeli, by the way, and American and German and Belgian citizens. And so you've got President Biden being interrupted by progressive Democrats who may not come and vote for him. It truly is astounding. You have Democrats in both the House and the Senate that are openly criticizing the president's policies, and he's just out in front of people going on about abortion. And why is Biden speaking about abortion right now? Because Biden is popular. Here's the secret. Lean in closer to the speaker, closer to the screen just a second. I'm going to tell you why Biden is choosing abortion and the insurrection thing as his last good hope for running in this election. Because Biden's only popular with one demographic in the entire country: suburban white women with a college degree. And of those, suburban white women with liberal arts degrees. So the soft sciences kind of degrees. That's who he's popular with. Suburban white women with a college degree. Hispanics are no longer coming out in droves to vote for him. I'm not just talking about whether they're voting Democrats. I mean, are Hispanics who normally staying home coming out to vote for Joe? No. Black voters are not coming out for him, in favor of him. Labor Democrats without college degrees, aka the 90s Democrat unionized manufacturing base, they're not coming out. I don't care what the union bosses say. Polling in the UAW is awful for Biden. So who's coming out? And there's no answer. There's no answer. And that is the Democrats' real problem. The border crisis is only going to make it worse. You can catch a lot more content on the podcast. Make sure to subscribe there. This has been the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hi, this is Denny Smith for Zero Res, and how about a great cleaning deal of 23% off all services? It's a great way to say goodbye to 2023 for sure and get that house back to the Zero Res clean you've come to love. Zero Res can clean your carpets, your tile, your rugs, your upholstery, and basically every